I actually think he is conservative about the 2018. I think we'll be able to have driverless cars sooner if we can overcome those institutional and bureaucratic hurdles. But you notice these driverless cars are just festooned with all these sensors on top. The car you buy won't be like that. Instead, it'll have little teeny sensors like the ones you see inside this red circle. Those are lasers. They send out a beam to detect if there's any vehicles or pedestrians or whatever on that side of the vehicle. And there's ones on the other side and ones in the front. And this is for a driverless Volkswagen. Now, you've heard about cars that can park themselves, and they're talking about parallel parking. This is a valet parking system where you go to a restaurant and get out of your car and tell the car, go find a parking place and park. And so the car goes around until it finds a parking place, and then it goes into that parking place. And then when you're done eating, you come out of the restaurant and you pull out your iPhone, and like Batman, you say, car, come. And the car will pull out of the parking place and making sure it avoids all pedestrians and so on, it'll come and pick you up. That should be available pretty soon, actually. Volkswagen is so confident about its driverless car program that it plans to run an Audi at racing speeds up the Pikes Peak Highway this summer. That means going more than 60 miles an hour on average around all these hairpin turns. They say that with enhanced GPS technology, they can make sure a car is within 2 centimeters of where they want it to be at all times. All the computers that run these cars are on board. There's no central computers. Every car is by itself, all by itself. It decides where to go, when to stop, and so on and so forth. Now, you can already buy a car today that is 90% driverless. This is a Honda, but other manufacturers have the same capabilities. He's initiating what's called adaptive cruise control. When you start that, it doesn't keep your car at a fixed speed. It measures the distance to the car in front of you and keeps you a fixed distance behind that car. Now he's starting what's called lane keep. The car detects the lanes on the stripes on the road, and it steers between the stripes. You don't have to have your hands on the wheel, except for the fact that the law requires that you have your hands on the wheel. So that's one of the laws we need to change. But you can buy cars like this, and they also come with what's called collision avoidance. They have the little laser beams all around, and if a car comes too close to you, it will brake or accelerate or swerve to make sure that it does not collide. A car like that is, I call it 90% driverless. Turning it into a fully driverless car is basically a software upgrade. It'll cost a couple $100s. You won't need any more hardware after that, really. Once a mere 20% of cars on the road have adaptive cruise control, a lot of congestion will go away, because a lot of congestion is just due to slow reflexes, and the cars won't have those slow reflexes. But within 2 years, you'll be able to buy a car that has adaptive cruise control, and if the car is steering itself and accelerating itself, and it comes up behind a car that's going too slow, it will change lanes automatically, first detecting to make sure that lane is clear, and then pass it. This is 3 Volkswagens that are driving at different speeds without drivers and passing each other as appropriate. Europe is actually ahead of us in this regard. The European Union is starting an experiment in Spain where they're taking driver-operated vehicles like trucks or buses. They send out a wireless signal, and then any car that can receive that wireless signal can join up in a line behind the truck, and then the driver of that car can go to sleep, play cards, read a book, until they're ready to get out of the line, and then they send a signal and get out, and the other cars will form up behind the truck. That's kind of an interim step to totally driverless vehicles. I wouldn't be surprised if we'll start seeing truck trains, where there might be 5 trucks and trailers, and only the first one has a driver, and the rest of them are driverless. The main obstacle is a chicken and the egg problem. I'm not going to buy a driverless car until there's driverless roads for me to drive on, and the states are not going to provide driverless roads until there are driverless cars. Well, we overcome that problem in other fields all the time. For example, if you look at the side of my laptop computer, Every single port on the side is completely different from the ports on the side of the computer I had 10 years ago. And the way the computer industry made that transition is that manufacturers of computers and peripherals got together and set standards for newer, better communication systems, and they implemented those standards, and the computer users gladly adopted those systems because they were so much better than the old ones. We see the same thing with cell phones. We've got 3G, third generation networks, and fourth generation networks, and people are gladly getting the new hardware to adapt to those things. The problem with highways is that they're run by a monopoly, and the monopoly has no interest in innovation. So we have a choice. We can go to the states and demand that they privatize all the roads, which I think is going to be a big time-consuming problem, or we can demand that they sit down, the state highway department, sit down with auto manufacturers and design a technological path to go from driver-operated vehicles to driverless vehicles. Our auto fleet turns over about every 16 to 18 years. So if we can get driverless cars on the market by 2014, by 2030, virtually all cars will be driverless. Doesn't mean that you can't drive a driver-operated vehicle, but we'll probably have some roads that are driver-operated, just like we have some places where you can go horseback riding. But in the long run, the benefits of driverless cars are so great that most cars will be driverless, the vast majority, in the future. Now, I discussed all of these issues: mobility, rail transit, high-speed rail, driverless cars, the policy prescriptions we need for a mobile future in my book, Gridlock. Cato published this book in January. They sell it for $25, but we're selling them for $20 today. I hope that you'll all buy them so I don't have to carry them home. I also have a lot of papers on the web. I'm writing about 4 to 5 or more papers a year, actually more than 5 a year. And the Cato Institute recently published this one. It's called The Case Against Rail Transit. I look at every rail transit system in the country. I look at the incentives in federal law that are encouraging cities to go for high-cost transportation rather than low-cost transportation. You can download that for free from the Cato website. My blog is called The Anti-Planner. Just Google Anti-Planner. I'm the first thing on the list. And I have an annual conference called Preserving the American Dream, and the next one is going to be in Orlando, and I'm sorry I failed to update this slide. It's going to be in September. It turns out early June is a terrible time to hold a conference. None of our speakers or target audience wanted to be there, so it's going to be September 23rd to 25th. We're hoping to get somebody from every major urban area to come to the conference. We usually bring about 30 to 40 major speakers like Bob Poole, the Reason Foundation, Wendell Cox, other experts on transportation and land use from all over the English-speaking world, and sometimes the non-English-speaking world. Here's some websites. TI.org is the Anti-Planner. Cato.org is Cato, of course. AmericanDreamCoalition.org is where you can find out about the conference. My email is rot@anyofthose.org. And I have a monthly email newsletter. It might get to be more frequent in the future. It's called The Feds Want to Take Your Car. And if you would like to be on that list to keep up with these issues, just give me your email address and I'll be glad to put you on. Well, thank you very much. As I said,